Thousands of years ago, a powerful predator walked the lands of North America, larger than any modern wolf, with bone-crushing jaws and a piercing stare that could stop prey in their tracks. We're talking about the dire wolf, scientifically known as Enochion dirus, a true monster of the prehistoric world, nothing like today's wolves. For centuries, all that remained were fossils and legends, but now that's starting to change. Thanks to genetic engineering, a team of scientists has achieved what once seemed impossible, bringing back the dire wolf. This isn't science fiction, it's real science, and it's already happening. Once a symbol of power for indigenous peoples, and later an inspiration for epic tales like The Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, the dire wolf is now the subject of a groundbreaking biotechnology project that might rewrite the story of wildlife. Today, I'm going to tell you how a creature that went extinct over 10,000 years ago might be walking the earth once again. But this isn't just a story about science, it's also about power, ecological balance, and the consequences, both good and bad, of playing God with evolution. For centuries, fossil discoveries have helped us piece together the history of the dire wolf. Remains such as bones and teeth, some dating back between 13,000 and 72,000 years, have revealed just how ancient and impressive this species was. Ancient DNA recovered from these fossils has been key not only to understanding their genetic makeup, but also their adaptations to different prehistoric environments, offering us a rare window into their evolution and geographic spread. Though it may have looked like a regular wolf at first glance, the dire wolf was anything but ordinary. It was larger, more heavily built, and equipped with jaws strong enough to crush bone. Thanks to fossil evidence, scientists have been able to learn a lot about how it lived, what it ate, how it moved, and even what the climate was like in its time. With modern technology, researchers have studied its DNA and compared it to environmental changes of that era. Everything suggests this animal adapted to a world in constant flux until it could adapt no longer. So why did it disappear? There are several theories. One of the strongest points to a dramatic climate shift at the end of the last ice age, which disrupted the dire wolf's ideal habitat. It also likely faced growing competition from other large predators, and the arrival of the first humans didn't help either. Fewer prey, more rivals, and an unpredictable climate ultimately drove the species to extinction. But the dire wolf didn't just live on the land, it lived on in stories. For many ancient cultures, it wasn't just an animal, it was a symbol, a guardian, a wild spirit that appeared in legends as a protector of nature and a guide for clans. Though it vanished physically thousands of years ago, its presence lives on in the stories passed down through generations. And now, thanks to cutting-edge science, it may return, not just as a fossil or a memory, but as a living creature once more. Bringing back the dire wolf might sound like Jurassic Park, but the real science behind it is astonishing. It all starts with fossils, bones, and teeth buried for tens of thousands of years. From these, scientists extract fragments of ancient DNA, the closest thing we have to a genetic instruction manual for this extinct animal. Of course, that DNA is incomplete and degraded, so researchers compare it with the DNA of living relatives, mainly gray wolves. That comparison reveals key clues: which genes the dire wolf had that modern wolves don't, and which ones influenced its size, fur, and hunting traits. That's where things get wild. Scientists use a technology called CRISPR, genetic scissors, to edit the DNA of modern wolves, inserting those ancient gene fragments that once belonged to the dire wolf. The goal? To gradually rebuild an animal that more and more closely resembles the original. The process of recreating the dire wolf is not a straightforward cloning endeavor akin to that of Dolly the sheep. Instead, scientists at Colossal Biosciences employed advanced gene editing techniques to modify the DNA of modern gray wolves. By analyzing ancient DNA extracted from dire wolf fossils, specifically a 13,000-year-old tooth and a 72,000-year-old skull fragment, they identified key genetic variants responsible for the dire wolf's distinctive traits, such as its large size, robust build, and thick fur. Utilizing CRISPR-Cas9 technology, researchers introduced 20 targeted edits across 14 genes in the gray wolf genome to approximate these characteristics. It's important to note that these animals are not exact replicas of the extinct dire wolves, but are genetically engineered gray wolves exhibiting similar physical features. The embryos resulting from these genetic modifications were implanted into surrogate domestic dogs, leading to the birth of 3 pups named Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi. These names pay homage to cultural figures associated with wolves and strength, reflecting the symbolic significance of the dire wolf in both historical and modern contexts. The pups are currently housed in a secure, undisclosed nature preserve designed to mimic the environmental conditions of the Pleistocene epoch. The facility includes features such as varied terrain and simulated hunting areas to encourage natural behaviors. Each animal is monitored by a dedicated team of veterinarians and researchers to ensure their well-being and to study their development. While this achievement marks a significant milestone in genetic engineering, it also raises ethical and ecological questions. Experts debate the implications of reintroducing genetically modified organisms into modern ecosystems and the potential consequences for existing wildlife and habitats. In summary, the project demonstrates the remarkable capabilities of contemporary biotechnology, offering insights into both the past and future of species conservation. For those of you just discovering this story from the headlines, or if your curiosity's been piqued by the idea that the dire wolf is back, let's take a step back and talk about what this creature really was. Because we're not just talking about a big dog with a cool name. The dire wolf, scientifically known as Anocyon dirus, was one of the top predators of the Pleistocene epoch in North America. It lived alongside mammoths, giant ground sloths, and saber-toothed cats, basically the all-star cast of a prehistoric apocalypse. For a long time, scientists thought the dire wolf was a close cousin of the modern gray wolf, Canis lupus. But recent genetic studies have revealed that it actually branched off on its own evolutionary path around 5.7 million years ago. In other words, it wasn't just a bigger wolf, it was a completely separate lineage of canid, with no close living relatives. In terms of size, it was definitely a heavyweight. A dire wolf could grow up to 1.5 meters long, not including the tail, stand nearly 90 centimeters tall at the shoulder, and weigh between 70 and 100 kilograms. Some individuals even more. It had a broad skull, massive jaws, and bone-crushing teeth built for taking down big prey. And speaking of prey, this beast didn't go after rabbits. Its diet included massive herbivores like bison, wild horses, and even the now extinct American camels. It likely hunted in packs, much like modern wolves, giving it a serious advantage in such a competitive ecosystem. Dire wolves were incredibly adaptable. Fossils have been found from Canada all the way to northern South America, but the greatest concentration comes from the La Brea tar pits in California. Over 4,000 individuals have been recovered there, making it the most common large mammal at the site. Many were likely trapped while scavenging the same tar-stuck prey, a sign of their group-based behavior. We obviously can't know their personality or behavior firsthand, but there are some clues. Their teeth and bone wear suggest they attacked prey directly and with force. Less finesse, more brute power. Some fossils show evidence of injuries that had healed, indicating that injured individuals were cared for by their pack, much like what we see in social predators today. The dire wolf disappeared around 13,000 years ago, near the end of the last ice age. Its extinction probably resulted from a mix of climate change, competition from other carnivores, and the arrival of humans in the Americas. Its specialized diet may have left it vulnerable when the megafauna it hunted began to vanish. Bringing back the dire wolf isn't just a story about science and technology, it also raises deep ethical questions. Should humans really be interfering with nature at this level? Is it right to attempt the revival of animals that evolution left behind? Or are we crossing a line we shouldn't? These are questions many scientists and bioethicists are actively debating. Just because we can do something doesn't always mean we should. Reviving extinct species isn't as simple as cloning an animal and setting it loose. There are real risks, health complications, genetic defects, and unintended ecological consequences in modern environments that are already under stress. One concept gaining traction is called functional de-extinction. Rather than trying to recreate a species down to the last gene, the goal is to restore its ecological role. If a predator once helped keep herbivore populations in check, reintroducing a functional equivalent might help rebalance the ecosystem. It's like repairing a gear that's been missing for thousands of years, one whose absence is still affecting the machine. And the dire wolf isn't the only species under consideration. There are ongoing efforts to bring back animals like the woolly mammoth, the dodo, and the thylacine, also known as the Tasmanian tiger. These projects aren't driven by nostalgia or curiosity alone. Many aim to use biotechnology as a conservation tool, reviving extinct species while also helping endangered ones recover. That said, these projects raise a number of red flags. Who decides which species should come back? What happens if something goes wrong? What regulatory systems are in place to prevent long-term ecological damage? That's why every step forward must be taken with clear guidelines, broad oversight, and open public dialogue. This isn't just a matter for scientists in high-tech labs. It needs input from ethicists, ecologists, policymakers, indigenous communities, and everyday people. If we're going to reshape the history of life on Earth, we need to do it with wisdom and respect. De-extinction and biotechnology are rapidly reshaping how we think about conservation. Techniques like gene editing and advanced cloning are becoming more accurate and controlled. With tools such as base editing and improved cryopreservation, scientists can now modify genomes with a level of precision that wasn't possible even a few years ago. And while de-extinction grabs headlines, some of the most promising uses of these technologies are in supporting species that are still alive but severely threatened. Many endangered animals have lost genetic diversity due to population crashes, making them more vulnerable to disease and environmental change. Genetic engineering, using ancient DNA or synthetic gene variants, could help restore that diversity and make species more resilient without disrupting their natural ecosystems. On a larger scale, this all starts to make even more sense. We are currently living through a human-driven mass extinction. Many species vanish before we even get a chance to study them. In this context, de-extinction isn't just about reviving what's gone. It's about restoring lost ecological functions and preventing further collapse. Until recently, conservation mostly meant protecting what's left. Now we also have the tools to repair what's been broken. That's a radical shift in our relationship with nature, one that's more hands-on, more proactive, but we can't lose sight of the bigger picture. Having the power to alter Earth's biological past doesn't mean we should use it recklessly. De-extinction is more than a scientific achievement. It's a reminder of what we've already lost, and a warning of what we could lose next. It forces us to ask, can we act in time to preserve what we still have so that bringing species back from extinction doesn't become the only option left? The dire wolf's return is an astonishing milestone. It's a collision of past, present, and future, a living symbol of how far science has come and how far we still need to go as a society. Because yes, reviving a species is a major feat, but it also comes with major responsibility. Reconstructing the DNA of an animal that vanished thousands of years ago isn't just a lab trick. It's a large-scale experiment with ethical, ecological, and social consequences we're only beginning to understand. So the question isn't just, can we do it? It's, should we? And if so, how do we do it right? This can't be left to biotech firms or research institutions alone. It has to be a shared, transparent conversation, one that includes scientists, governments, indigenous groups, conservationists, and all of us. Only through that collective dialogue can we chart a path that prioritizes healing ecosystems over playing God with genomes. Because in the end, this breakthrough isn't just about what we can bring back. It's about what we choose to protect going forward. If we have the ability to bring back a creature like the dire wolf, surely we also have the ability and the duty to make sure no more species are lost in the first place. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most powerful message of all.